Bun găsit tuturor! Sunt Diana Brâncu și vă invit să aflăm împreună răspunsuri la întrebări care îi frământă pe mulți. Cât de sigure sunt vaccinurile? Protejează sau dimpotrivă fac mai mult rău? După controversele din ultimii ani, tot mai mulți sunt reticenți. Un strateg al Organizației Mondiale a Sănătății este alături de noi și ne va oferi răspunsuri. Hello! Robb Butler este ofițer al biroului pentru Europa și coordonează campanii de comunicare în 10 de țări. A venit acum aici în România pentru a ajuta autoritățile române pentru lansarea noii campanii de vaccinare anti-HPV în această primăvară. 4 years ago, most parents refused the vaccine for their daughters, fearing the side effects. What changed?
Well, I think parents are more confident, and I think healthcare workers are more confident today. They have more information. There's been more of a drive to provide them the information, the data, the evidence to show the burden of cervical cancer, which is caused. The majority of cervical cancer is caused by HPV infection. But also there's a different environment today than there was in 2008. We have greater support from non-governmental actors, greater support from associations such as physicians associations, and we have a greater enabling environment to relaunch and reinvigorate the HPV vaccine.
Some parents still have some concerns. They fear effects of adjuvants. Aluminium derivatives, for instance, were associated to autism. What will you answer to them?
The HPV vaccine has a very strong safety profile. I'm saying this as a WHO member of staff. I'm also saying it as a parent with 2 daughters.
Did you vaccinate them?
My children aren't old enough yet, but when they do become old enough, my children are 9 and 7 years of age. But when they are old enough, they will be vaccinated. The HPV vaccine, since it has been endorsed and since it has been pre-qualified as a quality vaccine, is only 5-6 years old. During this time, 42 countries have introduced the vaccine. Millions of doses have been administered across the world. 21 of those countries are in the European region. And it's very interesting, if you look at the safety profile, how safe this vaccine is and how few events have occurred related to HPV vaccine. Severe events, I couldn't give you an exact figure from all 42 countries. I would say that we've had no severe effects that have been as a causal relationship with this vaccine. So where we have had events following vaccination, we've had investigations by national regulatory authorities and national authorities, and it's been found that those have not been related to the vaccination. So in this case, we don't have a ground for being concerned about HPV vaccine. Indeed, we actively promote it. The WHO recommends that adolescents are vaccinated with HPV.
There are no clinical studies to show whether or not this vaccine affects or not the fertility. People ask who will assume the responsibility if their daughters will have such problems in the future.
There's no evidence to show that that's the case at this point. We're 5 years into the HPV program globally. I think that's a question that needs to be directed to your national authorities, and I honestly think that I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Will WHO assume this responsibility?
That's a question you need to ask the government in terms of where the responsibility lies. There are manufacturers of the vaccines, as you know. We pre-qualify the quality of these vaccines and are responsible for strengthening the monitoring and surveillance of these vaccines. If there is any evidence, of course, that that is the case, of course WHO are going to speak up. For the virus types that the HPV vaccine is effective against, we can say in this 5-6 year period, and we only have this 5-6 year period now of history with HPV vaccine, the effectiveness on those viruses is 100%. So
no one had cervical cancer after the vaccination?
I'm not sure what the data shows on that, but I think it would be extremely high in the future, but we can't see that at this point. We can't see whether these young adolescent girls are going to develop cervical cancer when they're 30, 40 years old. The cancer is most prevalent when a woman becomes between 30, 35, 40 years old. So we can in no way say that nobody will get it at this point, but that's the same with every vaccine. This is an amazing technological advancement. we can address 70% of viruses that cause cervical cancer. Cervical cancer kills 260,000 women globally. Here in Romania, you have the highest incidence of cervical cancer in the European region.
Why?
I'm not a medical officer or somebody specialized in cervical cancer, but you do have the highest incidence. So it only makes sense that you have these two strategies. You have the cervical cancer screening, which is important, and if it's done regularly, it will identify 80% of pre-cancers before they can develop into true cancers, and in 99% of those cases, you'll be able to prevent that development. Now we have the option of a second strategy, which is the vaccine.
Rated voices say that if a woman has an HPV infection, even a high-risk virus strain does not mean you will automatically get cervical cancer. The vast majority of HPV infections heal itself with a strong immunity, some experts said, and even a pregnancy could heal.
I'm not actually sure about what you're actually suggesting there. What we do know about the vaccine at this point is that it's more effective in younger adolescents before they're exposed to the virus, so before sexual initiation, which is why it's important that we reach them before their sexual initiation. It has less effect, this vaccine, later after sexual initiation.
How can we be sure that the children is not already infected, knowing that this infection can be transmitted also by touch?
The key time in which HPV infection takes place is in sexual intercourse. Before sexual initiation, we need to vaccinate adolescent women, adolescent girls. Our recommendation is all girls between the ages of 10 to 13, 10 to 14 years of age.
What should the Romanian authorities do in order to be successful?
It's clear that we need to continue providing parents with information and the evidence. And the evidence is there. It's just a matter of sharing it. It's a matter of communicating. The Ministry of Health are very much supported. We very much support this decision, of course. We'll very much provide technical assistance to going about communicating that information. But I think they're on track to continue doing what they're doing, I guess would be my answer to that question. The key here is informed decision. I honestly believe that most Romanian people understand that cervical cancer is a threat, is a very real threat, and it's happening, and we are concerned about it. It's more important now that we provide them the right information on the vaccine and to motivate them to vaccinate their wonderful daughters.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Vă mulțumesc și dumneavoastră, doamnelor și domnilor, și nu uitați, orice decizie luați, important este să faceți o alegere informată. La revedere!